Hello there once again, lovely friends. Thank you once again for tuning in. Wow, what a crazy few days it's been. Many people went out and voted, and all of you who voted for Labour, like me, I am proud of you. I live in a Tory stronghold, but still over 19,000 voted for Labour in my constituency. That's 19,000 people in a Tory stronghold who don't want Theresa May and who do want Jeremy Corbyn, and I'm glad to be among them. As we all know, May and the Tories were always U-turning. As Barry Gardiner said, Theresa May's arrogance to call the general election has caused even more chaos. He says that she needed this strong mandate to call this election, but they are weaker now because of the election. The UK is weaker because of these elections, so she did it based on where the polls lie. And this is where I've said it over and over again, we must not rely on polls. Right now, we are going to be worse off as a result. We don't have the numbers, but we are not in the driving seat until she is knifed in the back and forced out, because right now she is still in the government. And worse than this, our democracy is being sold to the only bidder. Theresa May is an employee of the Arab royals and works against the British people, and in the interest of the UK is now aligning herself with a group of extremists for the sake of stealing seats that were not voted for that purpose. Those people would never have chosen Theresa May to be their leader, forcing a huge majority of people who also would never have voted for Theresa May as their leader to have her as their Prime Minister. I do not recognise this as my government. This result is a fallacy. It will not stand for long. The woman is desperate for power. She's gone mad. She has joined an alliance with known Christian extremists who have links with those who killed innocent people in Northern Ireland for their religion. After labelling Jeremy Corbyn a terrorist sympathiser for trying to bring peace to our country by opening up dialogue with those people to stop the killing and bombing of innocent people on both sides, she is now allowing those very people to be in our government. What kind of madness is this? I don't understand the Queen giving it the go-ahead either. May has clearly convinced her that only she is up to the job of Brexit negotiations, as she keeps saying, and she keeps continuing this rhetoric, strong and stable, strong and stable. But she is being laughed at right now by the people, and she will be laughed at by those that she'll be negotiating with Brexit. Her only power was this Brexit thing, and she threw it out the window by forgetting any issue that affects real people and real lives is also important in a general election. The whole thing is bizarre. You just could not make it up. The only good thing to come out of all of this is a very strong Labour Party waiting for leadership. Clearly, the use of the internet has mobilised thousands. Jeremy Corbyn has had to overcome a lot of challenges, including being blanked out by many newspapers. Now they can't ignore him. There is one good thing that has come out of all of this, because people can now, I hope, gather and rise up and end this madness and put into power one man who believes in people power and the power to be positive. He has triumphed because he has earned it with his positive, kind-hearted, honest truth and personality. And as Owen Smith has said, he was wrong about Jeremy Corbyn. He has said if we could all have some of what he has got and bottle that, we would all be successful. I hope to God that he also gets an apology from the likes of Angela Eagle, Tom Watson and Tony Blair. I doubt we'll see that coming very soon though. But Jeremy Corbyn is an avid reader of Maya Angelou, as we know, and I feel that a new spiritual but non-religious presence is beginning to raise its head and prove itself worthy through Jeremy Corbyn. And on Brexit negotiations, he has proven himself to be the true only one that Britain can put forward to do these negotiations that will suit everyone. On his debating skills, on his clear ability to be amenable and likeable to thousands in my opinion, only he now has the power and the strength and the stability to do those negotiations where nobody will be able to point him out any longer as the terrorist supporter that they already have. But now those tables are turned. Now it's Theresa May who is intending to force an alliance government with those very same people, only she is bringing them into our government and allowing them power. All I can say is I don't recognise them as my government, and I say no, not in my name. Now, can we believe she can do Brexit right anymore? She's invoked Article 50 and then called a general election. She started a fixed 2-year set of negotiations, then delayed any negotiation for 3 months. The reason was to try and ensure she and her party would be in power for another 4 years. She didn't need a mandate or anything. The referendum gave her that already. The Tories have lost the plot and are being found out. It's interesting to note that Nick Timothy, Theresa May's advisor and co-chief of staff, who the Tory hierarchy are scurrying around trying to blame for the present policy fiasco, attacked Labour on its commitment to more taxes, more spending and renationalisation, while being employed by a charity called the New School Network, which promotes the government's free school policy that has received over 5 million from the Department of Education since 2012 and therefore was reliant on a government grant totaling 65% of its income. Directors' salaries shown on NSN accounts that are ranged between £70,000 and £90,000. What hypocrisy! Jeremy Corbyn has been characterised by the media as a far left extremist, when in reality he is a democratic socialist. He isn't advocating seizing power and wealth from the elite. He just wants better crumbs. He comes with a genuinely socialist agenda, which Theresa May forgot was even necessary to win an election. She forgot the people who would govern, or who she would govern. She bizarrely even forgot those who vote were important for this election, and her only focus was Brexit. I can see a genuine socialist uprising that is about to happen, and this is a time for people power and the people's voices to be heard over the corporate elite and their globalist agendas. Jeremy Corbyn leaves the door open to new ideas by encouraging people to express themselves and not flattening in innovative ideas and thoughts. The most dangerous people in the UK are the nasty Tories, who will lie, cheat and steal from the British people, as Theresa May stands and talks of her horror at the terrorist attacks. She is now creating a government with people who have links with people who have been involved with terrorist attacks on all of us. This is like trying to form a government with Al-Qaeda, who are now fighting with British and American troops against ISIL. Jeremy Corbyn's opening up a dialogue with those people to bring about peace is a completely and utterly different thing than allowing those people to become our government. To forgive is one thing, but we should never forgive and we should never forget. And we should never allow those with a history of terror to become so powerful that they are a part of our government. This is a desperate, arrogant woman wanting power at any cost. The fact is, though, through cuts and war, the Tories have killed more Brits than any terrorist. And now she wants to rip up the Human Rights Bill. Doesn't any of this look scary to any of you? Does this remind you of an extremist nutter forming a government, removing all of your human rights, as something we could all remember happened in history before? We have a madwoman about to be our Prime Minister once again, one who still has no majority and one who still will take power with her so-called hard choices that funnily enough only affect the real working people of Britain, the people Britain can't do without. The police, the armed forces, the essential services, firemen, nurses, doctors, ambulance crews. That horrible woman stood in front of a crowd of NHS workers and told them that money doesn't grow on trees. Well, it does for her, for the Camerons, for every greedy, grasping one of them and their buddies who hide money in offshore tax havens, the unlawful idiots who hound wildlife to death. They show a Labour member with a beer looking at any of the overfed, sozzled Tory fools living the high life, courtesy of the people who haven't had a raise in years. We can't let this happen. Now everyone who has said that they've been scared of Jeremy are now scared that he has got a chance, as many of us who do see the reality and the common sense of a situation where a government has said, in effect, killed off more people through their cuts and budgets than any terrorist. Meanwhile, karma is working its positive magic. Jeremy Corbyn has already been in talks with Brussels to discuss deals with the UK that will suit all, whilst also allowing Brexit to happen, to ensure those from abroad who are a valuable asset to our country, those who have business here, who pay their taxes, those who work in our NHS, the doctors, the nurses, all the migrants that are valuable to our community are taken care of and won't lose their jobs, homes and lives that they have created here in the UK. He will also ensure those people who are UK citizens who live abroad can remain living there and working there, and that trade deals are done fairly as they are equally beneficial to both sides of the channel. He will work to bring about fairness rather than a walkaway struck from the negotiating table. He has shown himself to be a competent, able negotiator under immense pressure, whilst all I have seen of Theresa May's skills when under pressure is someone who stutters and falters and tries to emulate Thatcher in a way that scares many thousands of people who have seen that type of leadership and what it does to ordinary workers and families. And now I'm seeing someone else in her, someone so greedy for power she will form a government with extremists and terrorists. No wonder she doesn't want to be televised in debate with Jeremy Corbyn, and it stands to reason, whilst allowing the top billionaires to get away with not paying taxes, taking away pensioners' heating allowances, suggesting that they won't have to pay for their care until they're dead, when their homes will have to be sold off by bereaved families, putting them into extreme poverty and debt. Students will remain saddled with billions of debt. Of course she won't want to be debating this. She knows her policies are indefensible, and so she refuses to defend them. Every ordinary man, woman, elderly and younger adult will be worse off under another Theresa May's government. It was foreseeable by anyone who has any common sense that Jeremy Corbyn's popularity would rise. Anybody and everybody except the Sun and Daily Mail readers, who are blinded by the extreme bias as headlines compare him to some evil warlord who's about to turn Britain into a communist country that nobody will be able to get out of. That prediction is now coming about under a Theresa May government, and that is not fear-mongering. This is a reality that is beyond madness and shows the length that she will go for power. But people are awake to this madness, and it's forcing them awake. And now I hope you are all waking up to this reality. I hope now the media brainwashing has stopped working. The Tories have done enough to put the fear of God in everybody who has already felt the sting of austerity, and this government and what this government stands for. Her rhetoric that only she can do a good deal with Brussels falls down where we've seen her negotiating skills are non-existent. The woman will walk away in a strop, crossy-armed, and stamp out of the room repeating, "No deal is better than a bad deal," like some rewired robot whose wires have been ripped out and reconnected by a child. She is far from strong and stable, where she is actually weak and shaky and unable to represent us all. All she represents are the privileged few. And now real Christian extremists and fundamentalists will be in government with her. I hope you people, all of you Tory voters, have woken up to the lies, and more lies, that are repeatedly told and bought into by the likes of the Sun readers and Daily Mail readers, which say it all, quite frankly. Those papers are used to line my cat's litter tray. If one ever comes through my door, and anyone who hates on Corbyn now and spouts fear about IRA and other nonsense can go on the same poo pile as those papers, because I'm listening to them talk to me. To me, it's like reading the nonsense that those papers report. Bullshit, bullshit, and more bullshit. Jeremy Corbyn has my vote. He always has had my vote. The three others in my household that in this general election also had his vote. And I'm proud to put my cross on that ballot paper, and I will be proud to put it on there for a second and third and fourth time if necessary to bring to power a very able and good and brilliant man. I have had a feeling for such a long time that we're a part of a historic change in how this world and world leaders have allowed ego to rule their minds and their countries and abuses their position for their own personal power gain. Yes, they've won a majority here too, but no, they didn't win a majority here too, but we did well, and we are telling May clearly she cannot run a government that hurts its people most. And as she has now gone to the Queen and asked for permission to create this government with the DUP, while she has already taken advantage of thousands of elderly with her policies, she's also taken advantage of another elderly person and compromised the Queen's position, as I've heard that Ruth Davidson may have just pulled the plug on Theresa May, as she might not be able to even deliver a Queen's speech. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn should sit tight and let the weakened Tories fall apart. It's time to play the long game towards a landslide at the next election. Thank you once again for listening to me. Love to you all. Let's hang on in there and hope for the better future that is bound to come out of all of this. Once and for all, keep fighting, keep standing up for justice, keep fighting for your rights. Bless you all and love to all. Bye for now.